All right, this is one of these videos that should piss you the frick off because it applies to every one of us. And it's almost like government entities, which are the police and the courts, want to set a precedent to make us fearful anytime we want to go out there with a camera and lay a little bit of transparency on the cops who say they love transparency. And you got to put yourself into this guy's shoes, and this guy being Craig Henry from the Henry channel. But I also want to kind of reach out to and talk to people who are in the mainstream media. This applies to you too. If I could grab a camera and become the press and you claim to be press, this doesn't just apply to what happened to Craig Henry. They want this to be a rule that applies to all Americans. So before I play this video right here, which is where all this trouble emanates for Craig, because he dealt with a law enforcement agent who couldn't stand his feelings being hurt and he had to retaliate. And then the system backing the thin blue line crybaby had to make sure that that retaliation had some teeth on it. Craig Henry had a bond revocation hearing in Vermillion County, Indiana, and now he's being held in jail without bond. There are people out there who have been suspected of murder who get a bond. So there were new charges from Sullivan County, and this is him talking to a police officer in Sullivan County that brought all this trouble to the forefront. And now in Sullivan County, Indiana, these charges are sealed, and he's the only, him and his lawyer, the only ones who can look at them. You can't look it up in the internet. If you try to, you're not going to be able to find it. But the three additional charges stemming from this incident right here are felony intimidation with no access to a probable cause affidavit. There's a disorderly conduct charge, which is a Class B misdemeanor. And then there's refusal to leave an emergency incident area, which is a Class A misdemeanor, which is a reiteration of the 25-foot law, which there is an injunction against. So Craig Henry is stuck in jail with no bond until his jury trial, and this is where that came from.
Go back and do your job. I'm allowed to talk.
You are allowed to talk, but
I'm allowed to talk.
You can't yell.
I can.
You can't yell.
Fuck you. I can
Craig,
talk.
you can't yell.
Sir, get out of my face and go do your job.
I'm not in your face.
Welcome back. Last year, Indiana's legislature passed an unconstitutional law that made it illegal to approach within 25 feet of a law enforcement officer. A couple days ago, a federal court blocked the enforcement of that law because it is unconstitutional. So, that same night, I went out to exercise my freedom and news gather like I used to before the Indiana State Legislature tried blocking it. Enjoy the video.
Alright everybody, so here we are. We're going to go and see what's going on up here. These are some public officials, some police officers, so of course it is a matter of public interest to see what they're doing up here. We're going to gather as much information as we can before we let them head out.
And if you think about it, that is what journalism is at its core. It's just news and information gathering, not weaving a narrative, just recording what you see. If you don't have the right to do that, if you don't have the unalienable right to do that, this isn't the land of the free, home of the brave.
We can gather some information from them. Fifth Amendment says nobody's obligated to answer any questions.
Craig, 25 feet.
That law just got put, an injunction just got put on that law by a federal court, so you might want to check it.
Craig, 25 feet.
Sir,
man.
check the 25-foot injunction.
Craig.
Sir, check the 25-foot injunction.
So he knows who Craig is. He knows him by name already in the dark behind a camera. And once again, we have a law enforcer who doesn't even know his own law.
Stop interfering.
Nobody's interfering, brother.
You're
Dude,
yelling.
go back and do your job.
You're
Go
yelling
back and do your job. I'm
with
allowed to
this
talk.
guy.
Go back and do your job. I'm allowed to talk.
You are allowed to talk, but
I'm
you
allowed
can't
to
yell.
talk.
You can't yell.
I can.
You can't.
Fuck you. I can
Craig,
talk.
you can't yell.
Sir, get out of my face and go do your job.
I'm not in your face.
Go do your job.
You can't yell, Craig.
Stop interfering with my job.
25 feet.
Hey, the 25-foot law just got an injunction put on it by a federal court, so just kick rocks. Do you know what an injunction means?
Yes.
It means you can't enforce it, so f*** off. Get the f*** out of here. Yeah, nobody's got to answer any
Greg,
questions.
if you keep yelling, I will.
Nobody's yelling. Houston versus Hill. It's the Supreme Court. I just notified you of the case law that protects people talking. By the way, the Fifth Amendment protects people from not talking to you. If anybody wants to just not talk to you, they can do that. They could plead the Fifth. By the way, I'm going to need your name and badge number since you made contact with me. Honest to God, you've got Matthew Price next to you, and he's doing a better job than you are. You should be ashamed of yourself. Matt, good job. Pieces of crap.
At this point, in my opinion, it's a public service. It's a vital public service for an American to yell out and remind another American of their unalienable right to invoke their Fifth Amendment right to be silent. And anybody who interferes with that right is actually committing an interference crime. They're interfering with a man's right to communicate to another man about rights that he can be exercising that will benefit him.
Sheriff, while you're not busy, could I get your name and badge?
Yeah, that's Gibbons 7712.
Gibbons or Givens?
Gibbons.
I got you. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
He's aware. He's aware.
I know.
This incident is a perfect example of why you don't talk to the police. From what I could gather through what I heard, this gentleman was sitting in his car on the side of the road when he was approached by police. He answered questions, took a breathalyzer test and a talk screen on the side of the road, and they used the evidence that he was willing to give them against him, and now they're going to take him to a cage.
Well, I was sitting here in the truck. We're driving, still classified operating about how did you have control of it? Not in control, wasn't driving. Well, I need that to work. All right.
And so what we have here is a victimless crime. Unfortunately, this gentleman has been accused has been accused by these officers of having substances inside of him that the government does not approve of. The state allows officers quite a bit of discretion in situations like this, I think, although I don't know. It appears, though, that they are going to choose the caging route.
And just as a reminder, nobody here on this channel and nobody I know condones drunk driving. But the guy was sitting in his vehicle on the side of the road, not driving.
Of course, if the police were on the streets getting murderers off the streets, rapists, thieves, there'd be a lot more sympathy towards their activities than them taking gentlemen like this and saying, hey, you've consumed something that we don't appreciate, and therefore we're going to do things to you. This is why we go out and do this kind of cop watching, so that we can show people kind of the cogs of government, how the cogs of government move. They move without discrimination. They move in a destructive manner. And that's exactly what's happening here.
And in a very hypocritical manner. Craig is making a lot of good points here. This is a public service in more ways than one. Not just a public service to this gentleman right here and reminding him of his right to invoke his Fifth Amendment right to not incriminate himself, but also a public service to the general audience who might be listening, and just kind of breaking down what government is, how it functions, and the actions they continually take against us and not for us. Just as a reminder, they're constantly telling us how they're serving and protecting us, and all they end up doing is harassing us, ruining our lives, arresting us, kidnapping us, and caging us. When they could have exercised discretion, and they could have drove this guy home. Maybe this guy is home. Maybe he's in his yard, in his own car, not driving a motor vehicle, and maybe he wanted to consume some alcohol or something else.
Unfortunately today.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
you said victimless crime, right?
That's what I tend to refer to it as.
13,525 deaths directly related to operating a vehicle while intoxicated.
Yeah.
13,000. One of the most violent crimes that could happen.
That's a matter of opinion, I think.
I mean, think about it. Here we go. Think about all the people that's on the road that's driving, right? That's not intoxicated.
Yeah.
Myself, my children, my grandchildren. Your brother just got his license, right? He's on the road. What if someone was intoxicated and hit him and killed him? Would you consider that to be a non-victim or a victimless crime?
See, I think that running into somebody and hurting them, you create a victim. I do believe that. Amphetamines, I think we can both agree, amphetamines, the medicinal use for them is generally to help people concentrate, right?
No.
No?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. It causes significant impairment.
Oh, I'd agree. No, don't get me wrong. I'd agree that it can, but I think that the general prescription use for amphetamines is to help people with focus issues, mostly ADD, ADHD, stuff like that.
That's what is being used.
Well, that's what amphetamines are.
Well,
but that's particularly amphetamines, and we could try to split hairs about it. I don't think that we'll come to an agreement on the side of the road.
Even if someone is prescribed medication, right?
Yeah.
Regardless, whether it be amphetamines, whether it be opioids, whether it be whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, whether it be a CNS depressant, CNS stimulant, any of those things, narcotic analgesic, any of those things, you can still be impaired even on a therapeutic level.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Just because you're given that medication, that doesn't give you the right to drive impaired. So just as we would look on the side of a pill bottle or anything, what are one of the biggest warnings that we see that you tell people not to do? What's it say on the bottle?
I believe it says, well, a lot of the time it says don't drive, right? Don't drive on it.
Don't drive, right?
Right.
You can still be impaired even if it's...
Matt, let me make a distinction here between what I want to call victimless and what would create a victim. So I think like red flag laws are akin kind of to the driving while impaired, because if you get a red flag law, the goal of the red flag law is to stop somebody from creating a victim, right?
That's not what we have here.
No, but that is because you're trying to stop him from creating a victim when you don't really know if he's gonna or not. It's a preventative measure. And I think that when you get into preventing, when you take actions forcibly to prevent crime, I think then you get into dangerous territories. I'm not a really smart guy, so I don't really have the most well-formed opinions on every single statute, but you get what I'm saying. I have opinions, and I think that if he were to crash into somebody, he'd create a victim. He'd have to pay reparations in that sense, some restitution, I mean.
But don't you think that should be stopped before that victim gets hurt?
I believe it could, but I don't think the government's the way to do it, man. And that's really where I think that private road owners would prevent crashes a lot better than government.
Like the private people?
And the free market would operate more efficiently and more effectively than government ever could. We have example after example of the free market just running circles around anything that the government does. Plus, the government tends to co-opt things that the free market does and then take it to themselves and then take the credit for it. But this crime prevention step opens wide the door for taking away many, many rights for many, many reasons. How impaired is this guy? Do I want somebody who's impaired out on the road? Do I want to risk some driver, ramming into myself or my family? Nobody does. But we also know that cops really don't care about that, because when they encounter their own fellow cops, they treat them with kid gloves. They treat them differently than they treat the rest of us. So this crime prevention kind of falls under the guidelines or the heading for me. I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery any day of the week, because under peaceful slavery, way more people unjustly die, than they could ever die under dangerous freedom.
On the road?
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's the way the free market works is very unpredictable. So if we had it, I'm not sure that I'd get it right.
But I just couldn't see how that would be.
Yeah, a lot of people can't, but
I really don't. But
it's really just concrete laid in a straight line, man. People can do it.
That it's that is definitely not a big deal.
Yeah, and that's where we disagree, but of course we do disagree.
Hey, William, do you have anything in your pocket? Okay, would you mind emptying your pockets out for me, please?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So that's fine. Yeah, you can put it in your truck or whatever, that's okay. I just want to make sure you don't have no weapons. No.
You know, plus if you you can remove the danger from the road by taking this guy's keys and saying, hey, you can have your friend drive to the police department, or by taking this guy home and giving him a break. He doesn't need to go to jail right then. You don't need to tie up jail and then the court costs it's going to cost this guy, possible removal of his driver's license, which damages the opportunity for you to go to work, because now you're going to be driving on the vehicle without a license, and if you get pulled over, they're going to impound your car. Now you can't get to work. You might get fired. You might lose your job. So there are options that cops can exercise, and there's discretion that they can exercise, and a lot of times they choose not to for you, but they'll definitely look the other way when one of their fellow Thin Blue Line members does the same thing.
Well, so what's going to happen, okay, like I'll let him give you that information, but he's applied for a warrant, okay, to draw your blood, all right? And the judge has granted him that warrant to draw your blood. So unless there's something I'm not aware of, I believe his intentions are to transport you down to the Vermillion County Community Hospital and draw the blood for what we would call a tox box, that then we would essentially send off to the state lab, and then they would evaluate that from there. Okay.
Which can take 3 to 6, sometimes 8 months to get the results back.
So there you have it, everybody. That should be a good enough reason for you to not talk to police. This gentleman was sitting inside of his car on the side of the road. When he was approached by police officers, he was asked a series of questions, asked to perform a series of tests, to which he complied, thinking, if I'm more compliant, they're more likely to leave me alone. But of course that's wrong, and he will be sleeping in a jail cell on this night because of that. So I hope everybody enjoyed the video. We'll see y'all in the next one.
So based on that interaction, the Sullivan County cops came back at Craig Henry and then launched these 3 brand new charges, which are now sealed: felony intimidation, disorderly conduct class B, and refusal to leave an emergency incident area. He wasn't jeopardizing the life of anybody on that scene, and yet they're going to come out against him like that and then hold him without bond. So Craig Henry is now in jail without bond. I'm going to leave the PayPal link. I think he also has a Cash App link. I'll leave those below. So if you want to help him out, if you want to help his wife Erica out, you know, we can pitch in. The thing that kills me about this is that there are a lot of people actually applauding the arrest and non-bonded caging of Craig Henry. And when you do that, you will one day lose your freedoms. So Craig Henry is us. Mainstream media needs to pay attention to this, because they try to implement this reiteration of this 25-foot rule, which there's an injunction against. It's all just a bunch of bogus, retaliatory nonsense. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my brand new channel called The Disturbing Illusion. It's my police accountability channel. I'm going to, in the next couple days, put a lot of Trump rally interaction videos from Duluth. We went to North Carolina to check out the damages and to check out and talk to some of the people there who are suffering, who are still in need. So you'll want to definitely stay tuned to that channel. It's called The Disturbing Illusion, right here on YouTube. The link will be in the description. Until next time, remember, freedom is dangerous. It's scary. It's unpredictable. But the thing more dangerous, scary, and unpredictable is not having freedom. Let's not get to that point. I will see you in the next video.